Yo, what is going on in this motherfucking bitch? They call me the White Gabriel Iglesias, the OG Toxic Chain. I also go by Mr. Evie, your girl. I feed her carbo so she moves faster on my dick. When I'm on the Draft League community, I am simply known as the Don. The Don. Now that I have your undivided attention, I'd like to bring you all and introduce you to the brand new Draft League that I have joined or have returned to after a season off. We are back in the BBR D-League for season number 3, and this is my draft recap video. Hope you guys are enjoying this. Hope you guys are excited for this brand new season for the BBR D-League. This is the biggest draft league that I've taken part of so far this generation. This is not a standard 16 coaches. There were so many people that applied to take part in the BBR D-League, they had to expand it to 18 coaches. And the competition is fierce. It is very, very hard-hitting. It is very, very competitive. I am glad to be a part of this league again after taking a season off. But I'm back. I'm hopefully here to do my best to try to win this league and show that I belong in the main league. But regardless, I hope you guys are going to enjoy this video nonetheless. If you do are if you're hyped for the upcoming season for the BBR D-League, show some love by hitting a like and consider subscribing, as I am very, very close to hitting 500 subscribers so far. But enough blabbering about that. Let's jump right into the team that I ended up drafting for this season of the BBR D-League. So, like I mentioned, there's 18 coaches in this draft league, 110 points to draft between 9 and 11 Pokemon, and you're allowed one Pokemon that can terrestrialize into any type you choose. There is no restricting types whatsoever. You just only have one Pokemon that can Terra. And considering my draft position in this league of 18 coaches, I had the 13th pick. So being smack dab in the middle was never a good start. And I figured whatever was available after 12 picks were gone, just grab the best Pokemon available and go from there. I also knew that going into this draft, my strategy going into this was not so much to focus on my Terra Captain immediately, as I figured there'd be other good mons in the later rounds that are more suitable to be a Terra Captain, to not focus my entire draft plan around that one Pokemon. So I just started grabbing what best fit my playstyle and just grabbed the best Pokemon available for my team. So with that being said, my round 1 pick, number 13 overall, we grabbed the mascot itself somehow. We got Palafin round number 1. So yeah, I used Palafin before back in UNPL season number 4. I loved using it then, and I'm going to love using it again right now. Only downside is its ability 0 to hero. I have to switch it out before I can actually get the full powered hero form of Palafin. But when Palafin hero form is in, it hits hard and it does massive amount of work. 160 base attack, 100 speed, 100 7 special attack, hits like a truck with moves like Wave Crash, Strong Priority and Jet Punch, Close Combat, Zen Headbutt, Bulk Up for setup purposes, Taunt for stall breaking, even Encore sets is even very, very solid, and even moves like Flip Turn for momentum. So yeah, having a strong Pokemon like that, round number 1, surprised that Palafin fell all the way to me at number 13, but hey, when the coach of the Miami Palafins is not going to do is complain about getting Palafin, that's for damn sure. So, with getting round 1 Palafin, I knew right away that I wanted to, at the very least, get some momentum going. And originally, I wanted to get some initial speed right away, because I knew that in recent drafts, the one thing I do neglect to grab is speed early on. And while I decided that I probably would have gone like Iron Moth in my round 2 pick and made my Terra Captain, I passed on Iron Moth just so I can grab something a bit more faster in nature that fit my playstyle. So round 2, I ended up grabbing Cinderace for 16 points. Fantastic Pokemon, base 119 speed. Having moves like Powerball, Gunk Shot, can SD, U-Turn for momentum, Low Kick, High Jump Kick for other additional coverage. And on top of that, it does give me the ability to swap over hazards on my side of the field to my opponent with access to court change. So I have the immediate means of hazard removal if the opportunity or situation does call for it. Other than that though, I also get access to Libero, so even like SD sets can be a bit more self-sufficient. Even like choice sets can be a lot more hard-hitting in nature. Even though the nerf is there, Cinderace is still a fantastic Pokemon, pairs up very, very well with Palafin in dealing with those grass-type Pokemon that Palafin can't quite break past. Even though Palafin does have coverage for it, it's not going to be the one Pokemon that's want to come in and deal with grass types on its own, and having something fast immediately on my team is just very, very beneficial in general to have, no doubt. So then, round number 3, I know I had to wait a while for this next pick, but regardless, I really don't know why I keep drafting this Pokemon, but this is like the 3rd or 4th time I'm grabbing it, and I think just people just passed on it because it's like very, very underwhelming. But considering the value it gets from my team specifically, I couldn't quite pass it up. So round 3, we ended up grabbing up Garchomp for 18 points, or as some people call it, mid-chomp. I call it value. But regardless, it fits my team a lot better here as opposed to when I had in the UMPO this past season as a round 1 pick. Like round 3 here is a lot better than round 1 there, just because I already have other mons established that's not really forcing my Garchomp to be the main focal point of the offensive attack. It can be fantastic Stealth Rocker, it can Spikes, SD Scale Shot, it can be Choice Scarf. It can function a lot of different ways, offensively and defensively, and Dragon Ground is still a very solid typing. The weakness to Ice is very, very problematic, but I do have Palafin at the very least to resist those Ice type attacks, as well as Cinderace, and I can use it as a functioning means to have to stack if a situation calls for it, and it can still function as an offensive check with stuff like I mentioned, SD Scale Shot can mix with Draco Meteor, Fire Blast. Anything the situation calls for, a Garchomp can function in that role. So having these 3 Pokemon immediately is just very, very nice in general. So with that out of the way, I knew immediately, considering there's so many coaches in this draft league, I knew the one thing I also wanted to grab immediately was a Steel type, because Steels are very hard to come by, or a good Steel is going to be very hard to come by in the later rounds. So snagging up my Steel for round number 4, I ended up grabbing Metagross for 12 points. So Metagross, it gives me a needed Fairy Resist, or an additional Fairy Resist on top of Cinderace. It gives me a sturdy defensive typing in Steel and Psychic. It gives me another Stealth Rocker. It gives me more priority with Bullet Punch. It gives me a knockoff user, and a lot of potential setup with stuff like Iron Defense, Body Press, even Agility, Weakness Poly sets are on the table. But Metagross in and of itself is a very multifaceted or a very multifunctional Pokemon in general, just because the amount of sets this thing can do and provide for my team. It's going to be very, very awesome to actually use Metagross again for the first time, and I think 2 generations that I've used since I last used Metagross in a general draft league standpoint. But regardless, Metagross is going to be a fantastic addition to my team, and I'm really happy to use this thing again, as it has been a while. So moving on from there, I knew after getting my Steel, the next thing I needed to grab was my Fairy. And I did have 2 options on the table at this point when it came back to me round 5, between Sylveon and the Pokemon I actually picked, but I decided to pass over Sylveon and picked up Gardevoir instead. Now, it may seem iffy to grab Gardevoir over Sylveon, since Sylveon is a fairy type that resists dark, but the main reason why I went Gardevoir over Sylveon was basically due to the additional coverage that Gardevoir provided me over Sylveon, as well as the additional slightly better speed tier, and like I mentioned, the additional versatility. And by versatility, technically speaking, Gardevoir can still perform Wish sets like Sylveon. Granted, the Wish sets are not going to be passing that much HP, but between moves like Choice Specs, Choice Scarf, Assault Vest, I've used Trick Room before. That's not a possibility that I can't do it again. But yeah, Gardevoir again is another multifaceted Pokemon, can perform a lot of functions on my team. But the main thing that Gardevoir provides my team immediately is a hard-hitting special attacker, considering the first 4 picks on my draft are all mostly physical. So with that out of the way, since my Fairy-type Pokemon in Gardevoir doesn't resist Dark, another Pokemon I knew I needed to grab was a Dark-type Pokemon, something to take those Dark-type attacks and give me a resist, especially considering I have 2 Pokemon weak to Ghost. So I alleviated that issue with my round 6 pick being Overquill. Another Pokemon I really wanted to try out in this generation just because it gave me a Not only does it give me a dark type for it being a ghost resist, it gives my team a ground and poison type, so I don't have to worry about toxic spikes. As well as being able to set up spikes. Toxic spikes can taunt, be a nuisance, be a little bit of a stall breaker, can do like a SD Swift Swim set with Rain Dance. So it's not just stuck being like a defensive intimidate set with like spikes or whatever. It can basically function in multiple ways. And with me getting another spiker, it eases pressure off of Garchomp being a spiker. It can be more of the stealth rocker or be more of an offensive set if I decide to bring like a team of spikes, Overquill, and stealth rock Metagross. So, as you can see, I have a lot of physical offense on my team, and I needed to address the lack of special attackers on my draft. So, round 7, I do address that by getting a hard-hitting special attacker, as well as something that I feel like every team should have in some capacity is slow momentum. So, with my round 7 pick, we grabbed Vikavolt for 6 points, some great value in a 6-point mon. Doesn't have roost like it does from last generation, but overall Vikavolt provides my team, like I mentioned, slow pivot is never a bad thing to have for any draft, but more importantly a hard-hitting special attacker with 145 special attack. It also gives me the option to potentially go with Sticky Web in conjunction with my knockoff support from Metagross. But other than that though, Vikavolt is just still solid overall for my team, just because having the means of having slow momentum to get in my Palafin, my Cinderace, or any of my other set of sweepers or hard-hitting attackers is so beneficial to have, especially considering my team is so overly fast as it is. I didn't really want to pass the opportunity up for having something slow to pivot into and give my team some slow momentum, which is the main reason why I got Vikavolt, and having a hard-hitting electric-type Pokemon to add on to being able to pressure bulky waters for Palafin and Cinderace just benefits my team so much in the long run. So that is the Vikavolt selection. Then next up for round number 8, I wanted to grab, at the very least, some sort of ghost type to give my team a means of spin blocking in case I do decide to bring Hazard for any match. So I ended up going with Mismagius for 5 points. Again, more value than for this team, giving my team not only a ghost type spin blocker, but like Vikavolt, which I forgot to mention, it gives my team a ground immunity because my team's ground resist at this point literally did not exist. Other than that though, I get another hard-hitting special attacker with base 105 special attack and 105 speed, can nasty plot, can calm mind if need be, can be an annoyance with like Will-O-Wisp, Thunderwave, Hex, whatever the situation calls for. It can even memento into one of my potential setup sweepers as well. But overall, Mismagius does provide my team with some good necessity in terms of being a spin blocker, a good solid offensive special attacking Pokemon in general, and for the most part, I couldn't pass up the value since it was so relatively cheap for 5 points. So, moving on, round number 9, some more value here. Not really something that I'm probably going to be bringing that often, but I did really want to try out at least one time considering the circumstances. So my round 9 selection ended up being Smeargle for 2 points, and Smeargle is here basically as a means of not just being, it gives my team the option of going hyper offense and being like a standard Smeargle lead, but I do have other ideas planned for Smeargle that doesn't just limit it to just being a standard suicide league where I just try to get up hazards and die and whatever. Because of Smeargle's ability to pretty much learn almost any move in the game, there are some sets that are out there that does allow me to flex my creative mentality to the point where Smeargle can actually do something outside of the standard suicide lead shenanigans that most people accustom Smeargle with. And considering I have Stealth Rocks on Garchomp and Metagross, I have Spikes with Overquill and Garchomp, and even Webs with Vikavolt, Smeargle does have the ability to do other sets that may catch people off guard, and that's pretty much what I'm hoping to do in a situation whenever I try to bring Smeargle for this season. So, be on the lookout for that. And then, I only ended up picking 10 Pokemon for this draft league, and I figured at this point now was the time to try to address what Pokemon was going to be my Terra Captain, because none of the Pokemon listed here are my Terra Captains. But I figured if I wanted to get a Terra Captain that fit my team, I also wanted to make sure I had the potential to sweep in any situation. So with that being said, we do bring back a good old favorite of mine from last year from the PBA. So we're bringing out once again Terra, Hisui, and Lilligant. If you guys remember my run in the PBA, Hisui and Lilligant went off. And I said back then that Terra, Hisui, and Lilligant was a mistake. Considering that Hisui and Lilligant did not die at all during that PBA run until semifinals, is a testament to not only Hisui and Lilligant doing work, but me not being too hindered by the fact that I wasn't scared of the prospect of missing because of hustle. Basically due to the fact that I knew that if I hit, I was going to benefit greatly from the added power that I do get from Lilligant's attacks. Being a grass type also gives my team a needed ground resist as opposed to just using Pickable and Miss Magus, which does close up that lack of actual ground switching for the most part, as opposed to just relying on Levitate. It also provides my team with a potential win condition with Terrestrialization and Victory Dance. And yeah, this thing is absolutely insane if I'm able to Victory Dance and get some hustle boosted attacks on top of it going. So yeah, it just basically just comes down to me not missing my attacks. But all things considered, I'm not really worried about whether or not I hit or miss. I do feel like the team surrounding Hisui and Lilligant is good enough to the point where it mostly won't be coming down to that situation in the long run. So yeah, the team was basically designed where any amount of combination of Pokemon I use can potentially function as its own win con given the circumstances. So with that being said, that is a team I am drafted for BBR D-League Season number 3. Hope you guys have enjoyed the team breakdown. Nonetheless, again, if you enjoyed the video, feel free to leave a like, drop a comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. I am very close to hitting 500 subscribers on the channel, which is a very, very solid round number, and I'm looking to keep going onward and upward into the content. So be on the lookout starting next Saturday for week number 1 for BBR D-League Season number 3, and of course be on the lookout on Sundays for the other draft league in the TCL. So with that, thank you guys again so much for watching. Hope you guys are doing the video nonetheless, and until the next time guys, this is Tone, signing out for now. Peace out.